Most investors look at the profit and loss statement only, but what is more significant is the confluence of the profit and loss statement and the balance sheet when it comes to valuations and market cycles. The confluence point is the return on equity or ROE. What is the ROE of Nifty 50 today, and is it cheap for you to buy? Where are we in the current market cycle? Are we going to see a repeat of the 2003-2007 capital market cycle? Answers to these and more in our True Blue webinar. Join us this Saturday, 18th November at 10 a.m.
Friends, today we are going to talk about a subject which is very critical, something which you cannot escape from, but something which you don't like really, especially if you are an avid equity investor. I've been one, and let me share a small note on this. The early years in equity gave me so much returns that I thought it was a waste of time investing money in any other asset class. And my family was 95% into other asset classes. My conviction in equity was so high that I wanted to reduce my asset allocation in other asset classes at the family level and then increase towards equity. Actually, my performance changed the asset allocation, not selling one asset and buying another asset. Equity performance basically gradually changed the asset allocation. Then there came a time after I had spent over 25 years as an equity investor where my equity asset allocation was 75% and the other asset allocation was 25%. So the whole thing had flipped, and here I was at a point in my life where I had to actually do the reverse. I would have never bargained in my early years in the first decade of my life that I would find myself in that place. But the moral of the story is nobody can escape the need to practice asset allocation. It is something which no investor, no family, no entity can avoid. It's a thing that you need to always be aware of and respectful of. Today I am going to ask Subra on this topic what he thinks, how asset allocation is evolving in India, how it came into the mutual fund industry like a Trojan horse, more to create stable, steady capital and steady assets, but has the power far beyond that to help families manage their wealth better and to create a better ownership experience for themselves. So asset allocation is the topic. Over to you, Subra. What are your thoughts on asset allocation? What are your opening thoughts?
Asset allocation is required at the wealth level of the family. So it could be a very big family of 30-40 people, but we'll talk about a small family of husband and wife and 2 children, and that's it. Maybe an HUF for taxation purposes, but that's the entity which we are talking about. If the husband is an equity trader or even a fund manager, where a lot of his money income depends on the bonus, which depends on the performance of the index, and the wife is a professor in IIT or something like that, then what happens is naturally they are in a good shape, because one person will have fluctuating income, steady income and a huge bonus. The other person will have a steady income and a pension starting at the age of 68 or something like that. So this is a natural thing. Now if the wife is a housewife and the husband is an equity trader, then the portfolio has to be largely in debt. Initially at least, till you build up some basic minimum of say amount, so that in case the market falls you should be able to draw down from this. So in this case the debt portion or even a real estate acts as the cushion from which you will draw if you need to when the equity falls. You should not have to withdraw from equity when equity is not doing well. So some kind of an insurance is what asset allocation is.
You are giving a dimension that for every family, having asset allocation ensures that when they need money for their family goals or milestones, they will draw from debt rather than from equity because the milestone cannot wait. This is for families who have capital which will be needed to be diverted over the period of ownership of investments from time to time to meet the family goals and milestones. What about families who have money which they don't need at all? Somebody has sold a business, somebody has done very well in his life, retired, he's got his pension, he's got his gratuity money which has come back, all his savings, compounding, everything has happened, his children are in the US, they don't need his money, they have a problem of plenty. Should the family which has got such kind of wealth also practice asset allocation? What are your thoughts?
See, first of all, asset allocation is, like I said, family unit to unit. The asset allocation that is required when that family has 2 crores or 3 crores is very different from a family which has got 20 crores, 30 crores or even higher, 200 crores, 300 crores. Then asset allocation to me is, let's say 5 crores base you have created in debt, and that's enough because you think that is your next 10 years or 12 years expenses. Beyond 5 crores, all the money can be in equity. So there is no asset allocation which is required. I remember in a class where I was talking about asset allocation, one man came and he said, I don't practice asset allocation, all my money is in equity. So the class looks at me accusingly, but when you have a 10,000 crore net worth, you have a 60 crore salary and you have 100 crore dividend income, you don't need asset allocation. So an Azim Premji or a Ratan Tata don't need asset allocation. Don't talk about them, but talk about somebody even at 500 crores. Once you have 5 crores in debt, it may be sufficient. Then the question of emotionally, can you watch your portfolio drop 30-40%? Do you have the mental strength to take that? That's the question.
I'll answer you because I have been in that place before. In every market cycle, I have seen drawdowns ranging between 50 and 65 to 70%. Every market cycle. But I have tightened the portfolios best during those periods of drawdowns, and that in turn helped my portfolio perform even better after the drawdown. See, everybody fears drawdown, but my experience is the drawdown is your catalyst to make your portfolio so much better that it performs much better than it did in its earlier version. So the drawdown basically gives you an opportunity to think afresh and start afresh, literally. You don't sell the whole portfolio, but over a period of time you transform the whole thing that it looks a very different version of its earlier avatar. Yeah, so drawdown, if you are able to use it as a transformation phase, can be very different. But if you are not going to do anything during the drawdown and you are just going to sit on it, then it's a different thing. So I don't think we should universalize drawdowns, because what you do during the drawdown is very, very critical. Having said that, from the experience that I have narrated, I am not afraid of drawdowns. I have been invested throughout my investment years in equity, and I have not taken very major cash calls, and even today I am invested almost fully, and I would use this phase when the market comes down to make my portfolio better. What I see a lot of people who are very much believers in equity as an asset class is that they become passive after a drawdown. They don't do anything. Whereas if you are given your money to a fund manager who does asset allocation for you, he does a lot of things. This is the distinct difference which has made asset allocation products successful in our country, because the fund manager is doing a lot of things which the investor can never do because he doesn't have time.
Nor the discipline.
Even assuming that he has the acumen and the discipline, I'll give it to him. I don't want to say somebody doesn't know what to do, but he doesn't have the time. That is a given, which nobody will dispute. Whereas the fund manager is doing only that, so he is able to reduce his equity exposure to 50 or 40% when the index is 20,500. And then at 19,000, he takes it up to 60 or 65. And then if it goes further, he goes to 75, 80. So this he is doing. So this is why asset allocation as a product has succeeded. Though most of the people are owning it because they don't make a loss, and past performance looks always stable for them and gives them that comfort that I won't lose money in this. Whereas the actual story is not about not losing money, but about doing everything that you need to do during a market drawdown. But that is something which is underappreciated. But the individual investor who does it will probably do better than that. But still he has to do it in a way which is sensible. And talking about asset allocation, I want you to now talk about how do you allocate assets between real estate, which is your own home plus a property which you don't use but think will give you money, gold, which is in the form of your jewelry, your ETF, your sovereign, gold bond, and gold monetization also, because a lot of people are now thinking that they will take the jewelry, melt it and keep it as a monetized gold because their children are abroad, they are getting older, it will be easy to transmit. Between the time something happens to them and the time the children come, the jewelry won't get stolen. The children need not go to a bank vault and prove that they are the person authorized to open. All those headaches are there. No? So people are actually changing from jewelry to gold monetization as they grow older. So all these things are happening. So that is one way of gold. Then debt, which is your PPF and maybe some bank deposits, some fixed deposits of NBFCs. Bond ETFs are yet to take off, but in the future they would take off. That is another choice. How should a person view all these assets if he is, let's say, between 20 and 30? Do you need asset allocation between 20 and 30? I'm going decadally so that we can clearly demonstrate how the mosaic changes for a person in his life.
20 to 30 largely means a guy who's really well qualified, maybe he's done CA, MBA or MBBS or something, engineering. Actually, it's 24 to 30. Okay. That's the age group that you're talking. When they really get the money. Then it depends on your family background. If your father is the vice president in the bank and your mother is a doctor, honestly, it does not matter how much you earn. The family is running well without your money. So these guys, for them, all the asset allocation is being done by their parents. Even if he puts all his money in equity, it will not matter because if the market were to go down, he's risking very small amounts. And when the market has gone down, he goes and tells his father, I need money. His father may fund his requirement. So he really doesn't have to worry. But a kid who is supporting the family has to first make sure that he takes adequate medical insurance, term insurance, etc. Because the family is dependent on his income. He should take term insurance first, medical insurance and all that, and then he has to worry about the money that he requires after 3 years. He's paying for his brother's education or sister's marriage. All that should be in debt funds, and the remaining he can put in equity.
So in the same age group, if you are a person who is supporting the family, you require asset allocation. And if you are on your own and you have no commitments, then you need discipline more than you need asset allocation. You need to invest aggressively and actively. That is the distinction you are making.
What is required at that age is what percentage of your amount you are investing rather than what percentage of return you are getting on your investment.
That you are universalizing. That you say everyone.
That I am universalizing because the capital is small.
So every person between 24 and 30 should focus on what percentage of his salary he is investing.
At the age of 50, after you have accumulated.
24 and 30 should focus on what percentage of his salary he is investing.
What is the maximum he can invest?
You want to
save and invest. Yeah, save and invest, max out. Yeah.
And how to invest depends on his
risk profile,
family
risk profile, yeah,
responsibilities,
correct,
and his capital requirements in the future.
Correct.
So, if there are two friends, and I am using this story to drive home the point, there are two friends who study together. One on his own money because the parents are able to afford education, maybe an MBA, the other on a bank loan. After they complete their education, both should try to save at the same level. One will pay one part of that saving towards his loan and still invest the balance. The other will invest the entire sum, so he has the luxury of doing that. Subra, isn't it a little unfair because somebody who comes from a slightly more affluent family becomes richer again at 30 than his friend who probably did better than him in college, got a better job, but still is set back by the fact that he didn't have capital to study and that he had to borrow and study. Tell me something how this other person can do better in life and catch up. Tell me a catch up formula for this youngster who is paying a bank loan honestly.
Catch up is difficult and risky because you cannot default on the bank loan.
So you are saying
Don't get into competition at this age.
Okay.
If you are more competent, the market will pay you better.
So you are saying the answer is higher income and higher savings on higher income. Thank you for that. That's a fantastic answer.
You cannot ask for a higher R just because you need it. Market will give you the same R.
So you are saying that if you have more responsibilities, I gave the loan as an example. Let's say you take care of your parents. Some children take care of their grandparents also. Good. But in the process, they should not compete with a fellow who has no responsibilities. Instead, they should work to rise faster in their life, in their career, or whatever profession they are doing, earn more money there, save more money, and then make these two absolutes catch up.
Correct.
That's how you are saying they should win. Not take too much risk and play on the fringe.
Risk taking also the other guy has higher. The richer guy has greater risk taking ability. You don't understand that you don't have risk taking ability. That is very important.
Now you are telling that accept your disadvantage at the starting point and then work to turn it into an advantage through your own success. Don't rest. You are saying don't disrespect the context and the disadvantage.
Risk taking, don't disrespect the risk taking disability that you have.
That's a very, very interesting point.